Hi, my name is Pete. I'm a gigging musician, retired from my day job, and now music is what I do. So I teach for a group called Guitars for Vets, and I also have been following this acoustic guitar players on Facebook group, and there's a lot of chatter about finger picking, so I thought I'd share my journey. Kind of started my awareness of finger picking started with a cruise as a kid. My parents went to Australia on a cruise ship, and there was a couple on that ship who played in the lounges and such, and they did folk music, and he was a finger picker. And I was fascinated, and it made me want to learn that style of playing. And I started with one of my favorite songs at that time, which was The Sound of Silence. So, just for consistency sake, I'm going to make some definitions. This is my right hand. This is thumb. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Most of my finger picking is done with thumb 1 and 2. Sometimes I add 3. On I think only one song, House of the Rising Sun, do I use 4. So these are the workhorses. So with Sound of Silence, somehow I figured out that even though the first chord was D minor, this variant, which is more like a D2 played at the 5th fret, is just what it sounds like on the record. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. So, in finger picking, that's a thumb 2 1 2. Just repeats the whole time, and the chord form is, like I said, it's like a D2 at the 5th fret, sliding down to a C2 at the 3rd fret, and back again. And when you go into the regular song, it goes to the infamous F and B flat. 'Cause a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. So that finger pattern goes through the whole song, and that was the first finger picking style that I learned. As I started to listen to other songs, I kind of adapted from that thumb 2 1 2 pattern to make some things that went a little faster, and so you notice my thumb is hitting once and then the pattern. I had not developed a traverse style at that point. Traverse style has a thumb, an alternating thumb playing different notes. So when I first started, one of the other Simon & Garfunkel songs I loved was The Boxer. And I played it like this. I am just a poor boy, though my story's seldom told. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles, such are promises. So you can see that, that was not bad for a 15, 16-year-old, I guess, just trying to figure it out, not having an internet or YouTube or anything to go by or learn it from. But then I went off to college, and I got around some really good players there, and there were a lot of finger pickers at my school. So I remember one of the first songs that I really got traverse picking on I really love the Wedding Song by Noel Stookey, and I wanted to learn it and learn it the way I heard them play it, which was very much sounded just like the record to me. And so that was my first introduction to doing that alternating thumb. And so, and I'm going to play it started thumb one, thumb two. So it's really don't need this third finger. But I'm going to do something different here. I am going to switch to the 12 string. So here's I now have a Martin 12 string, and this is what Wedding Song, how I learned it in college, and basically still play it the same. Now you notice there's a little bit of melody going on top of the chords, and that's something you can do in finger picking, and it when you do it, it seems so seamless, and people think, wow, listen to that guy play. And you're laying a melody over a chord pattern, but all you're really doing is doing maybe some hammer-ons and some lift-offs of the chord, making some variances that walk from one chord to the other. And I'm not going to go into those details on these songs like Wedding Song, but that's all out there. You can get the tabs and go to Ultimate Guitar or somewhere like that and find that stuff. So anyway, here is what it sounds like on a 12 string. He is now to be among you at the calling of your hearts. Rest assured this troubadour is acting on his part. For the union of your spirits here has caused him to remain. For whenever two or more of you are gathered in his name, there is love. There is love. So that gave me a foundation. That's what gave me my foundation in traverse picking. So I was able to, and you notice that's very steady. Thumb one, thumb two, thumb one, thumb two, thumb one, thumb two, through the whole song. And even the little licks and the walk downs and hammer-ons and things are just added in there. And there's not a lot of fancy stuff where you're doing anything outside of that basic pattern. Every once in a while there is, like the G down to the E minor. So you do a little walk down on the E string. But you'll learn when you get the pattern down, you'll find that just varying off of it is not all that hard. It's just most of the time it just really flows with the song feel and the chord structure. And those are the things that really make a difference to the listener in terms of the smoothness and the continuity in the song. So I did mention House of the Rising Sun, and of course, what entry-level guitar player doesn't learn to play that? And usually you learn it with a flat pick. Most people play it that way. So I learned it that way too. But as I started messing with finger picking, I started saying, oh, I got it. I'm just going to do that with my fingers. And so, not all that hard, but it does take some dexterity in this pinky because you have to add it in. And the basic pattern, if you look at the listing, it's thumb 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Thumb 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. So you're kind of just going down the strings and then back up. So wow, it's been a long time since I played this. Let's see. And found out that my hand wouldn't let me do the pinky today. What I actually ended up doing was taking my thumb and doing a little bit of the first couple of notes with the thumb. So I kind of did the downstroke with the thumb and the backstroke with 3, 2, 1. So anyway, still kind of, yeah, I was trying hard to get that pinky, but it wouldn't do it. So with traverse picking, you also notice there's some variances in the patterns, and they're out there. I'm not going to go into details on those, but there's something called pinching, where a lot of times you're with maybe your third finger, you are pulling up on a string at the same time that you're making your bass note. So I use that on like City of New Orleans, which is basically a nice traverse picking song. Riding on the City of New Orleans, Illinois Central Monday morning rail. Okay, so that's, but if you want to do a little lead into that, there's a pinch you can do, and you can just play like a little walk down of the melody on the first string. So it's like, so you'll notice when I'm doing that, it's not necessarily the exact melody, but you can kind of just hear it in there. And if you can do that, you're a long way to adding some finesse to your songs versus just playing the chords. So if you get a little, even just get a lick or two of that in there, and the little hammer-ons and pull-offs are what really add a lot of dimension to the chord structure. So probably the next step I took in that direction was, again, playing a lot of the folk music of that era. I had learned to play Blowin' in the Wind, and then I learned how to put a little bit of melody onto that. So it's basically a traverse style with a pinching action to get that melody on the high string. So one of the next things I learned was starting to get songs that had little patterns that were very unique and weren't necessarily just a traverse style with a little bit of doodads added to it. It was really just a song finger picked in its own structure for itself. Blackbird's a good example, and it uses a lot of these open chords that are all over the neck. So, and there's different ways of playing this. This is kind of the way I learned it, which was. And let's see, another one. I remember I liked a song by Neil Diamond called Morningside, and it had a whole different picking structure. And it was kind of a traverse, thumb one, thumb two, but then it had a little accent that went on, used the third finger on the high E string to get a sort of a second, almost like an echo. Like you get a ba 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 and then a ding ding, kind of at the end. And so you'll hear it. It starts with, interesting thing, it starts in B7, which a lot of songs don't start in B7 and go to E, but that's how Morningside is just a little different. So there's your basic traverse, thumb one, thumb two. But then it adds Morningside. An old man died. And no one cried. He simply died alone. And when he died, he left a table made of nails and pride. And with his hands he carved these words inside. For my children. In that, you'll hear another aspect to traverse picking that people sometimes miss, is there's little places where you don't hit a note. And that leaves just this little vacancy where, you're basically playing 8th or 16th notes with respect to a measure. And you just have a place where you're letting one note ring and not immediately following it with another note. So if you hear that in Morningside. So it's like you hear this da 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 da, and that is let to ring, and then there's a quick jet follows it. So a lot of traverse songs have those little gaps in there. So I showed you how I played the boxer when I first learned it in high school, and then after I learned traverse picking, I realized, oh yeah, that's really more like the way it's played by Paul Simon. So I relearned it, and so actually, and then not too long ago, I said, there's an intro to that song, and I've never bothered to learn it, so I figured that out too. Or actually, now in the internet age, I found it on YouTube and learned it from there. So you hear there's a bump, ba da 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 da, bump da 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 da. That little gap is in there, which kind of gives the melody of this picking pattern its own sort of flavor. I am just a poor boy, though my story's seldom told. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles, such are promises. All lies and just, still a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. Ooh. learn. Some folks came over, we were jamming, and this gal got up and she started playing Landslide. She had a nice traverse pattern picking the song, and she had a great voice for the song. And then I'm thinking, oh man, where is that guitar lead that Lindsey Buckingham plays on that song? And then I realized, I went and looked it up, and I realized he does the whole thing, the lead and the picking of the song together when he would do it solo with Stevie Nicks. And there's a beautiful video of that too, by the way, out there. Of course, they were already divorced, but there's this scene when he goes into his solo, she just comes behind him and kind of gives him this hug, like thank you, you know. Now maybe it's just show for the audience, but it's a pretty good video. Okay, I'm back. I had to get a capo to do this, and I found that I'm not going to say this is perfect, but again, it's sort of like. I guess sometimes I take the hand grenade approach to playing guitars. If I get close enough, to me, that's a hit. And so anyway, Landslide is played on capo 3, in the key of C on capo 3, which makes it E flat in the real world. And you'll see there's a lot of there's some chord variants. There's a G, B, and an A minor. And there's a lot of hammer-ons and little doodads throughout the song that kind of give it little walk-downs on the bass line that give it its character and its flow, which is fun. And the lead, as Lindsey Buckingham plays it, is very fits really nicely with the picking pattern. And so sometimes you drop out to do a lead and there's nothing under it. It kind of it sounds hollow, and you say, oh, I need another guitarist, or I need a looper to put those chords in there. But some songs like this one can be pulled off quite nicely just by yourself. So I'm going to do a little bit of the, I'll do a run through a verse and a chorus, and then that goes right into, then I'll go right into the lead. Took my love, took it down, climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills, till the landslide brought me down. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you, but time makes you bolder, even children get older. I'm getting older too. I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I knew. So I wanted to just close with a few other just little licks. And again, when you get this traverse picking, when you get comfortable with picking, the sky's the limit. You can adapt and figure out songs. And you notice I'm singing with my songs. The guitar is an instrument made to accompany voice. And I'll tell you, voice singing with a song keeps you on rhythm. It's important, because one of the things that you got to learn as a player is, especially if you're not solo, is you got to keep up with everybody else. You don't want to be the one dragging or slowing everyone down. And you got to get it in your head that, oh man, if I miss a note or if I miss a beat, I better get right back in it and continue where I'm supposed to be, not try to go back and get that note and add it back in, because it doesn't work that way. You got to keep the song, once it's started, it's got to go on, and you keep it going. And there's a lot of things with this picking style. There's songs like Vincent. And there's Time in a Bottle. So yeah, it's about the dexterity and the chord structure, and a lot of times when you're using really open chords down the neck, they sound really good. They add again to the dimension of the song. So keep on playing, keep on practicing, and see you in the next video, I hope.